Hello everyone, here is the ultimate guide on how to play Devil Dino in Marvel Rivals. This is a brawl tank that has a very unique kick, lots of sustain, great displacement, and can do a variety of different roles like anti-dive, and he can also dive a little bit himself with the amount of sustain that he's able to do, and also, as you can see there, shut down other tanks. Dino works as a great anti-dive, but he's also opportunistic. Sometimes if you're able to throw away their tank and get to their backline, annoy the healers, especially if you're against another Devil Dino, you can shut down their team entirely by doing that, because his damage per attack is very high. He can toss enemies around. He has a bubble to help finish them off. And you can see there, you're just able to get so many kills. I'll be breaking down all his abilities in this video. One thing I do want to start off with is that Devil Dino has a lot of hard counters. Like if you go up against a Phoenix or a Moon Knight, you're a big walking onk. Mantis also highly benefits because she can get her heals back a lot quicker and damage boost from being able to headshot you really easily. And also characters like Punisher, who have a team up with Devil Dino, are great against him as well. Squirrel Girl also, because the moment you put your shield up, it's going down because of the Squirrel Girl attack. So with all these abilities, he is strong. One thing I do want to mention is that I do think he will get a nerf at some point, probably to his ability cooldowns, because his jump attack here has a 10-second cooldown, his shield has a 10-second cooldown, and possibly his most powerful ability, his quick bite attack here, has an 8-second cooldown. So I do see this changing at a certain point, so if you're watching this video in the future, he'll likely have a cooldown change of some sort. So going over his abilities, his main attack here will do 75 damage, but it's very slow. That's the most unfortunate thing about this. It will do 3% of the enemy's health per second as bleed damage, which is great against some of the vanguards. So you typically want to try and apply the bleed with his right click and left click to as many vanguards as possible. This is cleared by getting healed, so it isn't going to last for forever, but this ability is important. You want to have bleed off before you try to throw anyone, because otherwise you won't actually do the throw. And that's what makes Devil Dino so crazy, is you can go throw them, put up your shield so they can't receive heals, and you can finish off tanks, especially other Devil Dinos that don't know how to counter this, which it's early on, so there's a lot of them that just don't know what to do whenever this is happening. But try to get your bleeds off as many targets as possible. And Devil Dino is the only character in the game that has a special melee, which you can do while you're doing your main attack. So you see here, we finish off that target, and you can just continually keep biting, and your tail will end up attacking and finishing off those behind you. So I would recommend rebinding this if you have a hard time using your melee. You basically just want to be spamming it at all times or holding the key down, because this is a huge amount of extra damage that you can get without even having to think about it. So always be meleeing, especially when you're in a big fight, because that extra chip damage can help your team finish off enemies. You should always be doing this at every time you possibly can if there's enemies nearby. Now his right click, the impact beam. This will pierce targets. It has a 17-meter range, so slightly more than 15. And what's great about this is it will apply bleed depending on how long that you applied it on the enemy for. It also pierces there, which is really good. It does recharge a bit slow here, but you want to try and get as much bleed off on the enemies. The big thing with this, however, is it'll knock flyers out of the sky. So you can deal with things like Angela really well, Iron Man, and others. It'll also slow enemies, so if you're chasing them down, you can use your beam. It'll give them a 15% slow, which is oftentimes just enough to be able to get in and do your bite attack on an enemy. So if you're running down someone, you want to use that impact or beam there just to be able to give you an extra chance of hitting them. Because I'll be honest, Devil Dino's mobility is not good. His only mobility tool is the Savage Predation here, where you jump and you dive in on a target. This is also the same ability that gives you that bite attack, which you typically want to use on like an enemy tank there to displace them. So you got an option to either use it for like a getaway, because this will give you a bit of a jump, and this is really useful because he is the biggest character in the game, easiest to get headshots off on, so you're gonna get melted pretty quickly unless you have a way to get out of there. So it's kind of an option of using your cooldowns wisely here, and this jump is just something that you want to typically save to get out or to be able to throw a tank to your enemy's back or to your team's back line. Now Devil Dino's shield, the buddy barrier here, is interesting because it is so large that like with Doctor Strange's shield, whenever he uses his large shield, he can also bob and weave and pull it down so that he won't end up taking damage to his shield. And that's kind of the strategy, is Doctor Strange trying to bait people into missing. With him, you don't have that luxury, because no matter what, you're getting hit with those shots. And as I said, Squirrel Girl will delete their shield really quickly, and many others. This is a big barrier to Moon Knight, however, who is one of our biggest counters. So, but But you can see there, and when there's enemies that are attacking it, it is damaging the shield as well. So inside the shield, outside the shield, they'll destroy it. However, the shield does give a 15% slow to enemies that are hit inside the shield, but they can also move inside the shield and attack you. So you're not safe. The shield is just a bubble around you. Its large size means it's going down relatively quickly, but the short cooldown is where it really shines. And possibly Dino's best ability is his Frenzied Feast. Now, this will actually give you extra damage against bleeding targets, so you typically want to open with like a normal attack here and then go into the Savage Bite here, because it has 4 attacks that'll do 15 damage each, and then the final one has 30 damage. It'll shoot you forwards a bit though, and what's great about this is it gives you a ton of bonus health generated. So when you're using this, you basically want to use it against tanks, obviously, because of the extra damage that you're going to get off against them, but also as a sustain tool, because with this you can see we got over 1100 health with this. Not realistic in a game because you have cooldowns, and I'm just showing it without cooldowns, but you can apply bleed on multiple targets, which gives you 150% of that damage as bonus health. But also with this attack here, it combos together very nicely. This is something you typically want to be using against tanks on the front line, but don't use it if you don't have a bleed where you see that red around their health bar, because you're going to be missing out on a lot of extra bonus health, and it's just much better to do it that way. 8 seconds on the cooldown though. This is typically one you want to open with because you're going to get it back quicker so that you can use your abilities, attack, and then if you need to, you can hop away. Now, Devil Dino's ultimate, I can also see getting a nerf at some point. So this will give you a big damage boost at the start because you do a stomping attack here. You get a 75% movement or 70% movement speed increase. You slow enemies as well, and you're periodically stomping, so you do bleed damage on the enemies. You also get a cooldown reduction when you're using that as well. So typically when using his ult, you want to like deplete his jump ability and his F ability, because when you pop it, you get your bites back and you get reduced cooldowns on your abilities here. So you can go in and do your grab a bit quicker. You can do your savage bite even quicker. It has a 1 second reduction, whereas the grab itself has a 4 second reduction. So you can actually get a couple of those off in this ultimate, which is doing 10 damage every 0.3 of a second. So it's around 30-ish damage per second, and it's also applying bleed. His ultimate is insane. It only lasts for 10 seconds, but getting those cooldown reductions and getting your abilities back lets you generate over health like crazy, and that's where the big value comes from this ultimate. So this is one, as you saw at the start of the video, where you can end up diving the enemy team with, because that 70% damage boost or move and speed boost is huge, but it also slows them by 15% too, similar to some of your other abilities. Getting your cooldowns back quicker is just so amazing though, so it is highly worth using as a way to clear a strategist. But again, you have multiple bites that you can do, so if you're going against 2 tanks, you can literally get in there and just like throw both the tanks to your team, and then you can go after the strategist. There's a lot of different ways to do it. It's just a really big, it brings a lot of stress and heat onto you, because people are going to be noticing the damage. You are a huge target as well, so whenever you pop this ultimate, you got to be paying attention that the enemies are going to be going after you quickly, kind of similar to the Hulk ultimate where everyone just puts their eyes on him. Now, the downsides of Devil Dino. Unfortunately, some maps like the Clintar Convergence map, he can't really go through doorways sometimes. There's some doorways that he just doesn't fit through. He's got the biggest body in the game, so there's obviously some difficulties that arise with that. Another thing, you have the hugest hitbox in the game for your head. It's way bigger than Jeff's hitbox, so that makes things difficult because you're going to be taking a lot of damage and a lot of headshots. You do take 50% less damage from headshots, but that doesn't really make up a huge difference, because you're just typically going to be taking 50% more damage on average, unless you're going against someone that's got like insane aim. So you're likely going to be taking more damage with him, and you have to play around cover as Devil Dino because of that. So Devil Dino also has a team up with Punisher that literally turns you into a real tank, because with this, you can just go ahead and let Devil Dino give you that damage reduction, shoot at the enemies without any distractions. You can also use this if they're ulting, you can get right to the back line and use your shotgun. And what's great about this is it leaves Punisher open to be able to use his other abilities to get away. So this is a great team up. And the thing is, you are great at if there's an enemy that's diving your team, because you got a bit of range there, so that Iron Fist wasn't able to really do a whole lot. But again, you can see here, I have to play a bit backwards behind cover due to the amount of enemies that have hit scan that can just completely destroy you. So playing around the cover, we have that Iron Fist diving us again. This is a really silly thing. Iron Fist should not be diving Devil Dino, but yeah, with the help of diving backwards, you can see there why using that ability to get away is sometimes so nice, because there was no one DPSing him, so I was able to get back to heals and then finish him off. But The nice thing too is you finish off healers really quickly with that special biting attack that sometimes they just don't expect that DPS to come out so fast. And it's funny, things like this will end up happening where you're 1v1ing another Devil Dino. You have that grab attack, they're going to be using it against you here. You're both generating overhealth. That's one of the more frustrating things about a matchup against another Devil Dino is you're typically going to be doing kind of the same things back and forth to each other. So unless you got support, it's going to be a hard challenge to overcome because of all that overhealth generation. But you can see there, as soon as the team came back, we were actually able to finish them off. And you can see here a time where anti-dive is just so useful on this. So Iron Fist is going against our healers there. I was able to jump back, and with that jump, you do a landing attack there, and we were able to just get away from them. Gambit Ultimate obviously being a very powerful ability if you can get that off. Obviously, his biggest weakness is in mobility, so giving him more mobility turns him into a beast, because then you can start chasing down other attackers. And when you have that movement speed boost and your main attack, it's pretty crazy. Now, you're often a victim to CC. You're going to get crowd controlled a lot. It's kind of unavoidable due to his size and all of them having pretty large areas of effect. We can see here, and like if you're able to go against a healer, this was in overtime, so it was a little bit stressful, but what we were able to do here is I was able to put pressure on this healer. The tank ulted. I tried to throw the healer off the edge, wasn't enough, but was able to get bubbled here and continually keep applying pressure, and then took out the healer. And I made it back alive. And Magneto is super useful there. Getting bubble is to give me enough time to get pressure in and then go dive to the back line here. And you probably saw this from the start. This is where you're able to actually get in and do some crazy stuff, because we had our ult going, had a Gambit ult going, and you can just be chaotic. You have so much health that sometimes enemies don't want to have to deal with you. And obviously with multiple ultimates, there's a lot that is happening there, but you can just spam your abilities and get the win. This entire game was in overtime. It was pretty nuts. And here's where you really shine. So this Dino was diving us pretty hard here, and I was able to throw him back, pop up the shield so his healers couldn't do anything about it, and then that was just made it a 5v6. I love this ability, being able to throw a tank back to your team, like, here you go, I got a treat for y'all, and then you're able to just finish them off with the support of your team. It makes a huge difference because it's basically just alerting your team that, hey, we need to finish them off. So if you're playing with friends, great. If you're playing with randoms, they get the idea. And yeah, this kept happening. You're gonna get bit, but you want to bite them and throw them back, pop your shield. That shield went down really quickly, and then, you know, finish them off just like that. And again, it's just so useful, throwing up your shield so the enemies can't heal them. That's how you deal with another enemy Devil Dino. If they dive too hard, you can stop it every time. And here's a situation where just the slight bit of range on that beam is so useful for finishing enemies off. And throwing the Dino back to their team again. Like, this just kept happening in this game. Obviously, depending on the matchups you get, you can oftentimes bully other tanks just like you saw there, especially if they're diving. And a little Jeff the Landshark that was coming in here. The nice thing about your beam having all that reach through enemies, you can hit multiple at a time, and it's just easier. And you're a good counter to Venom too, because that bleed can just continually keep chipping his health down. But it's your F ability that can finish off Venoms, kind of similar to Doctor Strange using his Maelstrom of Madness for that burst damage. Sometimes Venoms don't really pay attention to that, and you can chip their health away really quickly. And you're chaotic too. Being able to beam down a healer while also hitting a DPS like that, finish off the healer, is pretty nuts. Punisher is a big counter too, though. Like, getting a full shotgun to the face a couple times, your health is going down no matter what. So Punisher, Squirrel Girl, Moon Knight, you're going to be going against a lot of your heavy counters here. So knowing when to use your mobility and get away is important here. That Punisher is going to shred us. But yeah, the Dino is very powerful. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave in the comments below. I'm usually pretty quick to get back to you on them. And hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already. Hope you guys all have a great day, and we'll catch you in the next one.